Hey, what's up, car fam? Today's an exciting day. I'm doing something I've never done before. I actually bought a one-way ticket to buy a 2018 Audi SQ5. So today I'm going to take you along with me to take you through the process of how I'm going to purchase it and what my thoughts are on buying a car and flying just to get it. So if you don't know what that car is, it's actually a performance SUV from Audi. So I'll take you along with me today so you can get an idea of what this process is like. Basically, my plan is to get to the dealership with Lyft or Uber, and then from there I'm actually not going to do a full test drive of the car because of their policy. Basically, they just have more of an extended return policy. So after I do all the paperwork and if everything checks out from the visual inspection that I do and just kind of certain mechanical things that I'll look for, I'm taking it straight to the Audi dealership, and they're going to do what they call like a pre-purchase used car inspection, where they check all the mechanical components, check the interior, make sure everything's functioning, if there's any open recalls that need to be taken care of, all of that stuff. So if you're in the market for getting a used car, that's definitely something I recommend. It costs a little bit of money, but it's worth it to know exactly what things need to get fixed, because then you can take that to the person that's selling it and try to get the price even lower sometimes. So I'm gonna take you along with me and let you know at the end if it's worth traveling to, get a car, if it's, worth the time and money that it takes to kind of travel and stuff like that. So I'll take you along with me. So I made it here to Long Beach, so now it's time to head to the dealership. Gonna catch a Lyft and then head over there. All right, so I just got here to shift. They were kind enough to let me in a little bit before they opened, since I just flew in and things like that. So right now I'm just gonna kind of hang out for a little bit, and then after that, check out the car, do the paperwork, and then go from there. So the car just pulled up right now. It looks even better than online for sure. And I haven't seen it with these wheels, so can't wait to show you. It looks really clean, but also a sleeper at the same time. Most people wouldn't know what it is and just think it's like some family SUV, so I'll show you. So I'm here at the Audi dealership. Like I said earlier, I wanted to get the car checked out. So far everything's driving great. From what I could see, everything looks good, but just want to get a second eye on some of the mechanical components, make sure that's good to go, and then do a little bit of preventive maintenance. So far it's been an awesome experience. I'm really glad that I flew down here, definitely considering the price of what these cars go for usually. I got probably the best deal in the country right now, so I'm super happy about that, and the car drives and sounds really awesome, so I might share some clips. Stay tuned. Alright, so great news, car fam. No issues, no major flags or anything that need to get repaired. So now it's time to get on the road, grab some food really quick, and then get in this LA traffic. Hopefully it doesn't take forever, but I'm thinking it'll probably, I don't know, maybe I'll get home in like 6 hours if everything goes smooth. If not, it could easily be 7 depending on traffic on the freeway. So this has been a great experience. I definitely would do this again if I had to pick up a car in a different place, especially with the way the market is right now. It's really expensive for certain cars, even if they're used, so you definitely need to do your research, be patient. Something I didn't share is that I was actually looking at this car probably about 4 months ago, and it was selling for about, I think, $5,000 more than what it is now and what I got it for. So sometimes patience, sometimes you do miss out on a deal, but other times if the car is not selling, the company has to do what they have to do to try to get rid of it, basically. So that's what happened with my situation. Basically, I waited, kind of looked around, and then they dropped the price basically where it's like an offer you can't refuse, and I got the deal. So it's been awesome. Like I said, if you do have to do something like this, just do your research, do the math, see how much it's going to cost for you to travel, gas, plane ticket, all of that stuff, and then make sure it makes sense. If not, then go with plan B. Alright, so like I promised, I'm going to go ahead and start up the car, give it a couple revs, that way you can get an idea of what this sounds like. So I wanted to do a 155 mile update actually. So Been driving for about 3 hours. I've been doing tons of highway, especially coming from basically LA and then heading up to Northern California. And then I've done tons of stop and go traffic, very typical of being anywhere in SoCal between certain times of the day. So I've had a chance to get a vibe for the car. Long story short, it's been amazing. Really, really enjoying it. I love the sound, like the exhaust sounds so good. But then when you're just chilling, like you can just coast, take your grandma somewhere, like it's the perfect balance. I love it. So yeah, I've been able to be in like the stop and go traffic, really get a sense for like how comfortable the car is. The brakes, oh man, the brakes are so good on here. It has a really firm, like reassuring pedal feel, and it's really hard to describe brake feel. But sometimes it's just too soft on certain cars where it's like trying to be so smooth, but this gives you the confidence of knowing exactly like the friction of everything. Like it's solid. It has a really good pedal feel. I like it. And it's really strong. It's bitey, but also like smooth. Like the tuning of the brakes is solid. I would really love it. And then of course the acceleration's good. Visibility is like really amazing. A lot of cars have blind spots, even like smaller cars, but when you have this much like window area in the car and just the way it's set up because it's bigger, it's not like a small, like, you know, compact car like other cars I'm interested in. The visibility is good, the mirrors are great, so I'm really, really, really enjoying it. I'm really happy with this purchase, and I can't wait for my wife to drive it. I know she's a big Audi fan. Like after we drove an Audi Q7, which is the bigger SUV they have, from California to Washington a couple of times, we fell in love. There's just a huge difference between the way a German car drives and the way a Japanese car drives. Like they're just made for different purposes. Obviously, some are a little bit more on the luxury end. So basically once you tap into that territory, the way the suspension feels, like even over bumps, at like highway speeds when you have to do certain maneuvers, is just so like and confidence inspiring, like they say. Like it feels really, really solid. So I'm really happy with it. And another thing too is this is actually rated for 19 mpg in the city and then 21 on the highway. I was curious how it would be for a drive like this. So when I was in traffic, I was getting about 24 miles per gallon, which isn't bad. You're like stop and go. You're not really using that much gas, but you're also not having a consistent acceleration. You're always stopping. So now I've been on the highway for a while and I'm getting about 28.4. So for a car like this, that's actually pretty good, because for context, this again is more of a sports oriented SUV. It's a twin turbo, I believe, but I know it has 354 horsepower and then about 369 pound-feet of torque. AKA, it gets to 60 really, really quick. Really, really quick. So it makes it fun and enjoyable, but knowing that I can get reasonably good gas mileage for a car with this much performance, especially for like a long trip, is really good. And it's a big tank. It's a 18.4 gallon tank, so that's nice for a trip, because sometimes when your tank is just so small and then let's say you don't get the greatest gas mileage, you're stopping a lot more frequently. So with this, you basically get over easy like 450 or so miles on it, depending on like how you're driving and if there's mountains, stuff like that. So that makes it nice. You don't have to stop as often, except for when you just want to take a break or just get extra gas. I've only stopped once because I needed to take a break, which you should every couple hours when you're driving and stuff anyway. So another thing I wanted to highlight is I actually basically there's an area called like the Grapevine, where it's not necessarily like big mountains like Yosemite or anything like that. It's like elevation, it's like elevated hills basically, compared to like what I'm used to with like South Lake Tahoe. It's nothing on that level, but you are pretty elevated and you're constantly going up or down a hill for like 30 minutes straight. So, and it's pretty curvy considering like how long that drive is in that section. So I was able to get a sense for like the handling, the way it transfers weight, body roll, which is already minimal, and this is completely stock. So you could obviously change that, upgrade the suspension and things like that, and make it even stiffer. But I don't have any plans, honestly, on doing any mods like that. This car is fun how it is, and I know that sounds interesting because you could actually do a ton with these in the aftermarket, but for the purpose of this car, my wife's daily driver, for like family trips and different things like that, we're gonna keep this baby pretty stock, make a couple maybe exterior upgrades and things like that just to make it look a little bit better. But performance wise, it already checks a lot of boxes, and I want to keep this enjoyable and not spend money on that really. So yeah, so those are just a couple updates. I'm curious how it's gonna be at night. I haven't driven these newer model Audis in a while at night. The last time was like maybe a year and a half ago when we were coming from Washington. I didn't point out, but this has the Audi virtual cockpit, which is basically a fully digital dashboard where you have the navigation here, you have the speedometer, all of your things that would normally just be like in the typical, center here that are analog or maybe half digital, it's completely digital, like a iPad, I guess you could say. So it makes it nice because then you could see everything, have a ton of information that you need, and then I just like the look of it personally. I think it's cool. So yes, I'm curious how that's gonna be at night. And then I don't think this one has any of the ambient lighting. That's a different trim, but I'm not really worried about that, to be honest. If it has it, cool, but I didn't get to check, to be honest. I checked on other more important things than that, which sounds funny because normally I know 100% of every single detail. This one I have like 90% of the details, so I'm comfortable with that, especially for the price that I paid. So yeah, I'm gonna share more information as the trip kind of progresses. I have another 3 hours or so to get home, so I'll be able to do a full day's drive of like daytime, crazy traffic, nighttime, super dark. I get to get a sense of what the headlights are like in here and things like that, and kind of just enjoy this. So it's been awesome. So quick update, stopped at In-N-Out, just use the window. You know how it is when you're on a road trip, it gets crazy. So this is what it looks like at night. During the day, you can actually change this to a different view as well and see different information. I'm not gonna go through all of that for this video, but basically just wanted to get an idea of like what it looked like at night. And then let's turn on some more of these lights. Excuse some of the mess, but yeah. So it's pretty cool. Really helps at night, especially having the navigation there, and I just really love the way it looks. All right, so as you can tell, it's been a little bit. So this is a 300-mile roughly update. I have about 2 hours left before I get home. It's been a bunch of trucks on the road, and then they take up both lanes, so then you lose a lot of time, but it's all good. I'm not in a crazy rush. Just looking forward to getting home though. It's kind of been a long day. I woke up basically around, I think 4:45, because I needed to be at the airport or leave the house at 5:30. Anyways, so sharing an update on just the whole experience of traveling and is it worth it and what expenses you may have to calculate. I know I went over them a little bit earlier, but eating out is just something you'll want to like calculate for depending on the length of your trip. So I've seen some people where they've had to go from like the East Coast to back to the West Coast because of a car purchase. So that's a pretty major one. Mine was within the same state and I've only had to eat like twice. Basically stopped to get gas, but I didn't really have to. I just wanted to get extra because I was stopping anyway for a break and restroom, all that kind of normal stuff. So, but just something to keep in mind, like, okay, you want to make sure you calculate how much you'll spend on food. If you're going to be like making it a longer trip, if it's hotels, if you're driving the whole time, and bringing someone with you, like all these different factors basically. But from my experience, especially if it's not too far of a drive, it's definitely worth it, and I would recommend it for special cars. I wouldn't do this just to buy any how do I say it, any just car that you could get for the same price, you know, locally just doesn't make sense. But let's say it's something that's hard to find, or it's overpriced like crazy in your area, that's when you may have to start branching out and considering if you want to travel for it. The other part too is you also would want to calculate, especially, you know, time, gas, food, hotel, blah, 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 blah. Depending on how far the car is, it might just be cheaper to have it shipped, because depending on the distance, that could be, I think right now, roughly from what I've heard, let's say from like Chicago to California is like, I think $1,500 to ship it, even if it was $2,000. I mean, it's just something you want to keep in mind, because so yeah, that's something you want to keep in mind, just to kind of keep your options open and, you know, things like that. Because if you have to take off work, that's also money on the back end that you're losing from vacation, things like that. So yeah, but this is the night drive, which is honestly really cool to do, to be able to kind of just like show off, you know, what certain cars look like at night. So earlier I was talking about some of the like digital gauge features in this car. This here is the digital, so it's called the Audi Virtual Cockpit. Basically has, like I said, everything, your speedometer, maps, and then all the other little data things that you may want to see on your car. So that's there, and then of course you still have this section here for like your main. It's not touchscreen in this car, but it is, you know, controlled through this little dial here, which is really easy to use. It's very simple and to the point. So yeah, this is the night drive. The lights look really great at night. There's a couple options which I think is cool that Audi does this. My other car has it as well. They have like a fog, it's basically like a rear fog light in a sense, where it basically, on your like two lights that are on your rear, it has a bulb on each side that's like really bright for, let's say, those crazy foggy days and you want to make sure that you're visible from behind. It's basically a rear fog light. And then they have these other like side projectors that are almost like a built-in front fog light, but more so from the main headlight, because they don't really do like two lights anymore. That trend died a long time ago because they can get a lot more light out of just your main headlights now. So they basically like add bulbs in different directions as needed. So this one has the main ones basically shooting out and kind of wide, but then it has these little side lights where you could see it literally almost shooting straight across to your like left and right, which is perfect for, let's say, mountain drive, super carvy roads, or let's say you have really dark, I don't know, country roads where you live and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. I am getting kind of tired, but not in a way where I don't want to like stop driving or anything like that, but it's just been a long day, so I'm excited to get home, which will be, like I said, roughly 2 hours or so, because you need to factor in stops and, you know, taking breaks, especially if you're like flying and doing that. It's a little bit different than, let's say, you're gonna leave just for 6 hours in the day and go there and come back or whatever. When you're like flying, traveling, handling business, it makes the day a little bit longer. So either way, definitely zero regrets. All right, so leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions about the process. Just to recap, I bought a one-way ticket to fly to the location where the car was. Once I arrived, I got a lift, and then from there, I did the paperwork, took the car for a test drive. Thankfully, I didn't even share this, but thankfully they were chill and like actually let me do a little test drive. The guy that worked there was really nice and understood, like, hey, you're buying a car, like, you know, it's especially used, like, you want to be able to test drive it. So then from there, after that, I did the paperwork and then went straight to the Audi dealership, had them inspect it, check it out, all that good stuff. And then fun fact, which is another perk of actually getting your car inspected at the dealership, even though you could probably just have a friend do it, whatever, but this is one of the perks that I found. Someone actually, whoever had this car before, purchased the maintenance plan basically to up to a certain mileage point. So I found out I basically probably have like $2,000 to $3,000 of preventative maintenance stuff that's going to get taken care of. So if I didn't go, I would have never known that someone still had that and that it was still active on the car and that they didn't cancel it and stuff like that. So definitely worth, you know, even paying just to go get it checked out, because now I'll be able to get like a full tune-up and all these other things done without having to pay out of pocket. So that's super cool. So definitely do your research, try to find out, you know, whatever you can, get your car checked out, all that fun stuff. You never know what information you're gonna find after, whether it's good or bad. You never know what info you're gonna find when you get your car checked out. So thanks again for watching. Stay tuned. I will have more content coming out for this vehicle here, and then also the Audi A3. I did a poll. People said that they were interested in really getting my opinion more so, and just experience about having a German car versus like Hondas, which I've had most of my life. I've had a Honda, Mitsubishi, and just other cars. So looking forward to making that video, and we'll probably break it up into different points. But either way, have a good day. Comment below, let me know if you have questions, and then also share your tips. That way other people can learn some of the best practices for, you know, traveling and buying cars out of state and what that process is like and things like that, because this is going to become more common as it gets harder to find a car at a reasonable price in 2023 and beyond. It's just going to get tougher. So catch you later. Peace.